Welcome to the Wellness and Growth Journeys podcast. I am your host, Mialisa Garnes, founder of the Wellness Growth Agency, where we empower women-centered health and wellness businesses. And today, we are excited to have Whitney Erwin, the founder and full-time practitioner of Four Seasons Harmony. Now, Whitney has helped countless women heal from hormonal imbalances through holistic health, herbal medicine, and Ayurvedic therapies. Now, we can get into what Ayurvedic therapies, what that means, and the Ayurvedic approach. But help me welcome Whitney. Hello, Whitney. Welcome.
Hi, Mialisa and everyone. I'm so excited to be here.
Listen, I just want us to, really get a little deep dive into holistic health because it has been, I don't want to say like the buzzword, but it has become like the only way to look at health and well-being, because we were so accustomed, just like when you're not feeling well, you go to the doctor, you get some medicine, and you treat these symptoms, and you hope for the best, and hopefully they go away, and you good. But no, right? We're realizing that there are practitioners that are looking at our health holistically, and then really trying to find the root cause of whatever issue you might have, whether it be like stress, or just saying this, because of the stress, then it might sound like your pressure, that kind of thing, right? So I love talking about holistic health. So what really was your journey into, this holistic kind of viewpoint of healthcare? Can you share what inspired you to pursue this path?
Yeah, so it's been a long and constantly evolving story. I think essentially a homecoming for me. Like, I just love everything holistic. It just makes so much sense and it feels really good in my heart. And just as a woman, there's so much support available. I think for me, there's two different threads. One is just a love of learning and anything that's available within natural therapies. I took an interest to that when I was a young woman, and I spent a lot of time outside in nature, and I was so interested in what might the natural world offer, and things that weren't at that time where I lived, really accessible. And then for myself, going through struggles around my health and finding on my path that conventional care and things that I tried first just didn't work.
Oh
Like,
man, I feel like that is the story of a lot of women that I'm talking to.
really?
Yeah. And like it just pushed them then to like pursue another path. So I heard you talk about natural. So was that something that was important to you? Kind of having like a natural remedy, I guess, or solution?
Yes, I think I always valued that. And when it was like growing up really healthy and vibrant, and then when I became more mature and like stepping more into my own values, that just made so much sense to me. But I didn't have a lot of tools and knowledge. And then when things hit really hard, and I remember asking for those things, I was just met with so many no's of like, it's not available. We don't know anybody. And I was like, that's what I really wanted. But I had to really dig hard and deep to find that over time. And, I moved across the country to this holistic health mecca in Santa Fe, New Mexico. And I sought out healers from referrals and connections. And it wasn't a path laid out to me easily. And I definitely want to be part of changing that narrative. So when women need help, they can find that at their fingertips. And essentially that did work for me, though, just finding the right care and really skilled and incredible practitioners, and finding that in, high enough therapeutic dosages and support where it wasn't just like a side thing or just a hobby. Finding, professionals that really knew what they were doing, and it completely changed my life and gave my health back.
Because as you say that, right? And the first time, and I guess maybe that's just a misconception, everybody, like when you hear like natural remedies, right? The first thing you think of is maybe, I don't know, some sort of bush, or maybe like something that might work But to hear you say that you actually went to professionals, like that is actually quite, I guess, encouraging. Because yeah, when you think natural, the first thing you think about is that it might or it might not work, and then maybe it is a remedy that somebody who, like a nature of loving, I don't know, yoga teacher or something, pushes. So to hear you say, I guess that there are actual professionals in it is actually really encouraging, right? Um, so I guess, what were your health challenges? Because I know you talk a lot of that on your website. What can you, I guess, describe the health challenges that you had that kind of, led you to seek out the natural remedies?
Yes, and I actually was really shy about sharing those things. I was very quiet about that publicly for many years. I would say like the first 6 years after founding Four Seasons Harmony. In my one-on-one work, I would share anything and everything that would be helpful for the women I'm supporting, and I still do that. And I just saw these patterns over and over again about so many incredible women that were falling through the cracks and dealing with these hormonal imbalances for so many years. And so I consciously decided to speak up more and share more about my story. So they knew that they weren't alone. And also that this really wasn't a top-down philosophy or just a theory. It's like, no, these are really embodied practices for me that worked and saved my life. And, and some things are more mild when women reach out to me, but some things are so severe and acute and complex. And so I don't think we can sugarcoat some of those things. And I really seek to build trust and connection with my women. So, specifically, I have a history of Hashimoto's, an autoimmune condition, which so many other women experience as well. That's one of my specialties in supporting. I have a history of migraines and dysmenorrhea, like heavy bleeding.
Because I was going to ask you what kind of symptoms exactly, I guess, result in like hormone imbalances. Like what kind of
Oh, so much. Like
so much.
everything under the sun, essentially. Uh, Especially with progesterone deficiency, I see tons of those cases. That's just so common in modern life because of like chronic and high stress levels. So like common heavy hitters I see all the time are like low energy levels,
Right.
anxiety, depression, infertility,
Hmm.
insomnia, GI issues, body pain, depending on what time of life you're at with hormones. The things I
Right.
talked about are applicable for the whole women's lifespan, but it could also show up as hot flashes or PMS, cramping, pain, things like that.
The fact that there's like a long list, a long, exhaustive list of things that you could experience just because your hormones are in balance. So I guess, what inspired you then to, found your practice, Four Seasons? I think it was in 2015. What was that the reason? And then how has it evolved since 2015?
Yes. Well, I had a heart and passion for women's health. That was very intentional for me when I founded Four Seasons Harmony. And I didn't specialize in hormonal balance until about a year into like full-time practice. And it was just the massive amount of caseloads coming in of like, can you help me with this and this? And just started connecting these patterns. And I'm like, why are so many women not being helped with this? I was like, okay, my story really wasn't isolated. Like, this is actually something that most women struggle with. And so that inspired me to just start to specialize and learn more. I got tons of certifications, like in fertility, postpartum care, menopause. I specialized in that in graduate school and clinical herbal medicine, just to make sure I could really deeply support women to feel better for the long term.
Right. So when do women come? Do they know that they have like a hormone imbalance? Or is that something that you guys discover from like the consultation?
Yeah, great question. It works both ways. I mean, I have some women come in and they're like, PMS is like a dark hole. And I suddenly have high anxiety, depression, bloating. I don't want to leave my house for several days. And then I'm fine the rest of the month. And then I have other women, they're like, I can't get out of bed every morning all the time. And they may not be as aware if it's related to their hormones being off. And so we might have to dig deeper. Yes. And it's definitely complex for sure. It's just a big missing piece. And I'm kind of like, with every woman I work with, I always do education around hormonal balance, even if they're not aware of how that impacts them, because I feel like it helps everybody.
Well, I'm glad because like for me, the first thing that comes to mind isn't hormonal imbalance. I just know that maybe I'm not feeling good, and then like you say, I would probably just assign it to like my period or something, and then it's like, okay, well when that's done, then I'm good. But then once my period's over and the symptoms don't go away, like I'm feeling tired and moody, and I would start to wonder, like what's really going on, right? Um, so how do you, I guess, approach issues and symptoms like PMS and infertility and anxiety, right? How do you approach these issues holistically, and what are some of the key treatments or strategies you offer?
A holistic approach, by definition, means looking at bringing and restoring balance on all levels. So, definitely physically, but also emotionally, mentally, spiritually, psychologically. We want to look at addressing the whole person. And if we pull on one of those threads in women's health, often we're going to see they're tied to everything else. They're inextricably linked. And so we want to start off by accounting for that. And so that's how I work in my scope of practice. So I do a really in-depth assessment for
Yeah,
every new person that comes in for hours. It's like 5 hours spread out over different pieces. And so I'm also getting really detailed. Okay, so you say you have this going on. Well, there might be 20, 30 different reasons why somebody's fatigued, and just need to get really curious and make sure I'm clear. Is it this time of day? Is it just with these types of symptoms? So so much time involved in getting to know each woman on an individual level, how that's uniquely presenting for themselves. And then once I have collected all this objective information, I'm listening deeply to their expressed concerns and goals. And then we launch into care, right? And providing support and tools and knowledge from thousands of years of
right.
holistic health
Hmm.
systems that are still intact and still incredibly beneficial for the modern women. So that for me often involves lifestyle adjustments and looking at ways to reverse the stress response cycle. So that's not
Right.
the majority of what you're experiencing throughout the day. That's actually just in minor and small moments.
Hmm.
So the time you're in rest, digest, heal response, your parasympathetic nervous system, and bringing in herbal medicine. I'm a clinical herbalist, so that's a big piece that I find helps like all of my women at any stage of life. And also looking at mindfulness, consciousness shifts. So a holistic approach takes that into account, how powerful that is for healing. So, if we're running a tape about the messages that we send ourselves,
Hmm.
that's negative or harmful, that's going to impact our health and well-being. So we want to look at that as well. And there's so much. I mean, that's what keeps me going. I love what I
Yes.
like learning, and so we're pulling on all these different types of therapies and approaches that essentially are very safe, time tested, and are looking at this beautiful multidimensional picture of a woman.
Explain Ayurveda, because because when we first had our first initial conversation, and I was like, I have no idea what this is. So explain to me, like I'm five, what is Ayurveda? And then like how do you then incorporate that into your services when it comes to women?
Yes. Well, that's like most people in the West for sure, although it's growing in popularity, and definitely in the East Coast. So I was the only person who's practicing Ayurveda in 2015. Now there's so many more people like popping up and practicing. So it literally translates to the science of life and longevity in Sanskrit. So that's its origin. And by many scholars, it's renowned to be one of, if not the oldest natural healing system in the world. Has the oldest written text on surgery and a lot of things that we see practiced in modern medicine. So every single system of healing on the planet can trace its roots and have connections with Ayurvedic medicine. Now, it's applicable for every person on the planet for sure. And it's something that we're seeing adapted to lots of different cultures and geographic regions. And that philosophy can be applied to anybody in any lens. It's also called the sister healing science of yoga. So it's like the health of
Okay, so it's related to yoga then.
definitely, yes.
Right. Okay. Uh-huh. So, and it's called the what?
The sister science to yoga.
Sister science to yoga. Interesting. So then how does that, fit into your practice, and how it supports women achieving hormonal balance and overall wellness?
Yes. Well, I find it's a system that works for women and just filling in these gaps, right? That we still
Right.
see, like things that are not really taking into account women's health, completely missing so many different unique and necessary aspects of what it will take to restore functionality to a
Right.
woman's body. And and that can be, I say that loosely too, women identifying. But there is a vast difference in our hormonal system than somebody that identifies as a man. Um, and it's not better or worse, but it is different. And so I think we just need healthcare approaches at an advanced level that can really support women to flourish. And then you don't feel like there's anything wrong with you. Like when you find out all these different things about how you tick, right? It's like, oh no, this is actually how I'm designed. And my
Right.
hormones change every 2.5 days, and that's okay.
But it's annoying that so many things can go wrong though. I feel like when I was younger, like I didn't even know of, the potential things that could happen when it comes to your health, right? The most we had to worry about is menstrual cycle, and that was it. And like whatever things were around that. But like all these other things, right? It's no becoming really apparent now the more that I'm into this health and wellness niche, right? Is becoming more apparent that there's so many things that we're unaware of that happens to our bodies, right? And it sucks that so many different things happen that could affect you in any given way and moment.
It's so true. Yes. And, I've spent time, it was like, we just can't dumb women down. It's not possible. And trying to fit us into this like male 9 to 5 model just doesn't work from what I've seen clinically over and over again. And that's okay. But we're just so nuanced. And if our hormones are changing every 2.5 days, then we're going to be changing on so many levels. And it's kind of surrendering into that and honoring our cycles and creativity. That more is a picture of long-term balance, not this like superficial ideal that doesn't really exist.
I mean, I'm happy that practitioners like yourselves exist so that you can help us traverse this randomness of life. But you do work with clients from all walks of life, offering both in person and virtual sessions. Now, how do you ensure that your practice remains inclusive and supportive to everybody, regardless of their background or where they're located? How do you do that?
Yeah, well, with a lot of humility and love. And I take so much time getting to know everybody that comes in. And that's a big complaint I hear from so many people. It's like, wow, like I was just totally dismissed by my healthcare practitioner, or I went in seeking support for this and I'm worse. I wasn't given any tools, or it's just such a rushed appointment. So trying to be the complete opposite of that and really ensuring safety on all levels. And I'm very intentional about being anti-racist as a healthcare practice. And I understand the accountability on my shoulders as the owner. So I speak up about that. And I try to make sure that that's visible everywhere, all over my website, social media, in my community service, and genuinely having so many friends and family members from all different cultures. I'll put myself into situations where I'm a minority intentionally so I can learn and make sure that I'm staying really open-minded, because everybody's so unique and different. And I really celebrate that. And I think giving space in the intake as well for you to describe anything about yourself, like gender is an example. I leave it blank. There's nothing you have to choose from. Like, you tell me your languaging. We'll start there. And so I'm going on your comfort level. Yeah.
Right, right. Oh, that's good. But and then how then do you, I guess, market your services, especially to those that would be virtual, like virtual clients? How do you reach out?
Yes. Well, I found that my website has gotten a lot of traction, and um, yes, and you know so much more about marketing than I do. I've had to learn that on the fly. And so just having that on Google for several years, and having a lot of really positive reviews, and just starting to catch. I'm amazed at how people find me through that in all these different corners of the world. I also get a lot of referrals for people that are living in different states or countries. That's actually how I initially got into virtual consulting way before COVID. I think started doing that in 2016. And that was because I was getting a lot of referrals from yoga teachers, from their students living in other states. And I was like, oh, I've got to find a way to make this happen.
Right.
And yes, and then what else? Some directories as well. I'm on the Soma Shakti Women's School of Vedic Wisdom directory in Sydney, Australia. And so, somebody reached out to me recently from Italy and was interested in learning more.
Oh,
So
that's so
just,
good.
yeah, having my name in all these different places. And then I just trust that they can find me when they need support.
And or is it also or and is it also your particular specialty, which is in the Ayurvedic, or am I pronouncing it right?
Ayurveda? Yes. Yeah, you've heard.
Ayurveda, yes. Maybe so when they reach out, do they say that? Do they mention um, your style of treatment and
I do Ayurveda, and some people will say Ayurveda. That's also another pronunciation, like in Sanskrit. Both are used commonly from what I've heard. So I find that, like, if somebody has no knowledge of Ayurveda, then I am going to be doing education in a way where it makes sense to them. It's very practical. And then somebody that's been practicing Ayurveda is really into yoga and might have working knowledge. I'm just going to meet them where they're at. But there's so much within Ayurveda. Like, you could study it for the rest of your life and feel like you're just like at the tip of the iceberg. So
right,
yeah, it's so beautiful and deep and comprehensive, nuance, accounting for masculine and feminine energies. And there's also, like, every single branch of medicine you can think of, represented in Ayurveda. I don't always, I'm not like just the Ayurvedic practitioner. I do many other things as well and work with lots of different healing lineages. So I'm pretty diverse in this fusion of modalities, anything that will help my people. And sometimes people want more of a specific Ayurvedic track if they're preparing for a yoga retreat. And other people are like, I don't even know what that means. What? Like, right? So it's all perfect though, right? They're just all
yeah,
about learning and connection. And so, since, mostly people are like, well, what can I do to help me? And
right.
so there's like classic things for hormonal balance. And so I just like to offer respect to the integrity of those lineages and practices and my teachers. But nobody's required to learn, new names or knowledge as much as
Right,
the person wants to. Yes.
right. Oh, well, I mean, you touch on education, right? And it seems to be a big part of your practice. So how then do you empower your clients with the knowledge and tools to take control of their health, especially when it comes to understanding the root causes of their hormonal imbalances?
Yes, education is very close to my heart. It's definitely a deep value in everything that I do. So I like to teach women to be their own inner healers, like awaken that part of themselves. And so there's several different ways. I mean, just for anybody, they can peruse and receive a lot of free community education and knowledge from the Four Seasons Harmony website, social media, right? There's just a lot that I like to have always publicly available, and doing, beneficiary things like this, like podcast. And then for one-on-one work, I go so deep and provide lots of different professional handouts on mindfulness and nutrition, hormone balance, cleansing, Ayurveda 101. And especially for my virtual work, I find that's so helpful to have those tangible takeaways. So my women are building up their library of tools, and connecting them to trustworthy places on the internet, which is a very big question that I receive all the time. It's like, where do I look for helpful knowledge? Some of it, yeah, right, is so hard to discern. So yes, and that like translates into everything I do. So like over time, I want to kind of fade out of the picture. Like I'm always here as a mentor and a guide, but I want my women to feel more and more sustainable, empowered in their own lives and serving other people. Not that we don't still have our mentors. I always do. I'm always going to have my team and teachers. That helps me be a really strong practitioner and help with life as it keeps happening. So absolutely having your village of care, but then over time, you're more independent, right? You're going to feel so much more confident, empowered with education.
But let's talk a little bit about one of my favorite topics. Not a favorite topic, but like a topic that I have some experience in, which is postpartum care, right? Can you share why postpartum care is so critical to long-term hormonal health? Now, I would probably write a book about this, and I'm not a health and wellness practitioner, just from my experience alone and how what I think really should be going on once the baby is out, right? Um, but I guess for to hear your point of view, like, you know, why postpartum care is so important, right? To long-term hormonal health, and what practical advice you have for women during this stage of life.
Yeah, so I fully support that project. Let me know if you need any support.
No problem.
Postpartum care, the better. And I, oh gosh, I feel so called to teach and help women during postpartum, because that's such a missing piece. Like, I think there's a lot more emphasis on pregnancy, and then when the baby comes, it's like, whoop, and we're
And
right.
it's such a trip, especially the first couple of weeks after. It's such a trip because your body goes through so much that I feel like no one warns you or prepares you or tells you. So then you go through it and you're literally in bed laying down and there's a pool of sweat all around you. And you're like, wait, this is what happens, right? And then you try to breastfeed your child. I'm sorry, I'm gonna let you talk for a minute, but as I said, I'm very passionate about this because you go to breastfeed your child and you're not producing as much supply as you see people on the internet do, or you hear people talk about, and you think it's something's wrong with me, and then so you gotta go and search, and they got cookies that you can't get, and this that you should drink, and there's I what I would like? This is what I would like. As soon as you give birth, right? Soon as you're then transported to a luxury hotel somewhere, right? Where you're then waited on, you know, for 24 or 48 hours, or maybe even for a week, and so on, right? And somebody's helping you take care of your baby, and they're like checking on you, making sure that yeah, your hormones are doing okay, and you're getting help with breastfeeding, right? And somebody is there to answer all questions that you come up with when it comes to your little human. Because okay, fine, if you had multiple children, like maybe it's not your first rodeo, so what to expect. But as especially first time moms, where there's like so many things that happen, and that could happen, or that you read about or you hear about, that you have questions about, and having that support afterwards is so lacking. I don't know how it is over there, but here is so lacking. Like you said, once baby's out, you're okay. They send you home with this tiny human that you need to keep alive, as well as yourself.
Yes, yeah, preach, 100%. Yes, there's one destination birthplace that I know. One of my clients is a midwife. She and her partner traveled to this place called the Farm in Tennessee. It's the closest thing I heard of is kind of what you're speaking to, and like I think it's almost ideal, right? She's just in this retreat environment with all these incredibly caring and loving professionals supporting birth. It was a home birth, and I see that all traditional indigenous cultures all around the world have postpartum care practices, although most of them I think have been undervalued and lost and have not been passed down. So for me in my studies, I've seen that intrinsic all over the globe. And it just makes so much sense because,
It does.
once
I
you go
would pay for
through
that.
it,
Take my money.
right? Yeah, Ayurveda even goes as far to say that 42 days after giving birth for a woman lasts for 42 years.
Oh, I think I've read that. I think I've read that. Either on your site or somewhere else. But yes, I've heard that. Right?
And so I try to get through to my women, ideally before baby comes. Now, I absolutely would take any woman in, and sometimes they're like a few months in, they're like, I'm dying. Can you help me out? Right? But ideally, and this is how we can support each other as women as well, because I think so much of this is a grassroots movement,
Right.
is to start before baby is coming during pregnancy, like start making a plan for postpartum, make sure you know to block that time off, like just how sacred and vulnerable it is, like the mother's nervous system is as delicate as their newborn. And so like I've had women that were moving after giving birth or working. I
Oh
mean, the
my
first
gosh.
stories, like, and I'm like, ideally we give maternity leave to for at least a year for a woman to take care of that newborn is fully taken care of, right? No stress, no worries, no obligations. I mean, we're so far from that. There's so much work to do to get there, but on a health level, that's what a woman needs. And it's the best thing for that child and the whole family as well.
I agree. And I mean, like, you're mothering the future generations for crying out loud. Like, we want to be okay and we want our kids to be okay, you know? And women, well, some are, maybe most, because I know all women don't have that um, immediate connection to their baby once they're born. I know some women do find a little disconnect sometimes, right? But for most women who do have that instant connection, right? When you tell me that after 6 weeks I gotta take my baby to a nursery, so because I have to go back to work, right? I think I don't know if there's any mom who has not broken down crying when they had to hand their little one over. And I'm not saying that it gets any easier the older they are, right? Because I think there will still be that kind of separation anxiety. And we talk about that for toddlers, but we don't do we talk about that for moms? The separation. Are they okay? Are they doing okay? That kind of thing. But I do think and I do believe that we definitely need that support. Like you say, 42 days, that would be great. Because I mean, you trying to heal from whatever procedure you had. The C-section is even worse because you're a little bit more, I guess, critical in the first couple of days, right? So you're trying to get better yourself, and then it's new, especially if you're a new mom. You're taking care of this new human, right? Who needs, and you don't even know what they need sometimes. There was an episode of Grey's Anatomy that I watched. I don't know if you watch Grey's Anatomy. There's an episode of Grey's Anatomy that I watched where Miranda Bailey, Dr. Miranda Bailey, she brought her baby and she had not too long given birth. And so she came in, she had to do a surgery, and then she gave Christina Yang the baby to take care of, which everybody knows she's the worst character to give a baby to. So the baby was bawling and bawling, but Miranda was in surgery. So then Christina Yang, she went to the intercom because you could see the surgery from upstairs, and she's like, the baby's crying, I don't know what's wrong. So then she went, let me hear him. And she was like, what? Let me hear it cry. So then she put the baby to the monitor, and then Miranda was like, "Oh, that was cry number 4. He's hungry." And I was like, "Listen, I am one to say I did not know any cries. I cannot be. My child would cry, and I wouldn't. I don't know what's wrong. I fed him. I'm guessing all the way. I fed him, I changed the but maybe he bored, maybe he's sleeping. I don't know. He did it. It's, TV kind of perpetuated that we should know. And you know what? I did feel like a failure in that instance of not knowing what my baby needs from their cry, because apparently that's a thing that happens and that's the thing that you should know. I was like, really? And I talking to all my mom friends, it's like, yeah, 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 I know. Yeah, that's a hunger cry, and that's a thing. And for me, did not know, did not know. But there's a lot of support that is needed, um, mental and physical, and like you say, when it comes to what you eat and so on, because it is a roller coaster. It was an absolute roller coaster for me.
So dream of the day when we flip the narrative. And my women, I'm so protective over. And like in pregnancy, I think it kind of starts there. It's like this commonly accepted buy-in where, yeah, you just have to feel horrible and have morning sickness. It's going to be rough and just suck it up.
Right? Yes.
Not my women. No. Like, no, they feel really good. They have good energy. I get them on herbs that are really safe for pregnancy all the way through. And it can actually rob women from like the celebratory aspects of this beautiful rite of passage.
Yes.
And it stepping into motherhood, it completely changes your life. And to not only support the children, but support the mother, you're saying. And some of those things we really need to learn from each other and talk about. And I think the more we have those conversations, then the more normalized it is as far as what to expect. So you have the tools that you need, you know where to find resources. So yeah, you don't feel alone.
Yeah, that's a big thing. Like you said, feeling alone. Because I did have my child during COVID, and so the place was pretty much locked down. It was locked down. So not having, I guess, that village that everybody talks about, or even a remote, even a remote support. Which, no, I want you to come, hold the baby, take care of the baby, and then even the fear of the pandemic, like the virus, like the fear of that, and like like suppose we get it, suppose our child get it, what does that mean? What happens, right? So I'm not gonna say that well because the lockdown was there, that's the reason, but it was also that fear of like, well, we need to like protect this tiny one with our life, so we secluded ourselves as well, right? So having that and knowing and we're going through that process, having some sort of community would have been really, really good. Feeling that you have some sort of support and some, people that you could talk to, that could help you out.
Yes, I'm yeah, so sorry you went through that. It's so hard on new mothers during that time in COVID. And I think we all knew about the isolation and those devastating impacts. One thing that I started as a project maybe about halfway through COVID was hosting some focus groups of practitioners that worked with the perinatal population from all sorts of different fields. And I made a public community directory that I distribute for everyone for free. Any listeners are welcome to follow up with me to receive that. And there's local practitioners listed here, which anybody could adapt to in your specific region. And then there's a lot of national and international organizations listed, like with hyperlinks. So like get your questions answered in the middle of the night from trustworthy organizations. And
That sounds great. That sounds like a good, and maybe somebody that you could hop on a call with or something. Because I think that would just be really helpful. We need to build a little bit more communities, and especially around certain, um, I guess, patches of life, certain, because we, we think, one, that we're going through it by ourselves, and then two, we think that no one's gonna understand. And but having that kind of like somebody that's gone through the thing that you've gone through, you're like, oh, so now we're sharing stories, and now we're relating, and now there's a comfort that comes from knowing that you're not alone, and somebody can help you and offer support and guidance.
Totally. I think everybody can step up, right, to support women in postpartum. I think culturally, if we respect and acknowledge how critical that time is, I mean, just being able to call and vent without anybody judging you or giving you advice, just
Making you feel bad for not knowing baby cry. You know what I mean?
yeah, which is so normal. And I think we may have talked about or communicated about infant massage. That's one thing that I'm really passionate about, and that's part of my postpartum care that I provide for women, teaching them how to do a full body massage on infants from ideally like day one absolutely through those first 42 days and then for years and years to come. And I mean the research and benefits, like they're just off the charts. 98% relief of colic rate.
Oh,
1 hour of infant massage compensates for 8 hours of separation anxiety for the mothers that do need to go back to work, like
yeah.
something to do for both of them. It decreases postpartum depression and anxiety for the mother when she's giving this to her baby and bonding.
Mm-hmm.
And what I find with talking more about ways that we can support postpartum care and share and educate amongst each other, then that's something like that we can really fall back into anytime. And we talk about crying, and one of the biggest tenets for my training, which I think our culture needs so badly, is to normalize crying for children. And from what I read in the research is that even the healthiest family, so like you're taking care of your new infant's needs on all levels, like they're still going to cry every day. Like you're not doing anything wrong. There's no such thing as perfect parenting, but it's also okay for babies just to cry to release stress. And that often shows up when we're doing really supportive and safe therapies like infant massage. And so I always do a lot of education on the parents to expect that. And it's so game changing for them when you can really separate that, like they know it's not hunger, it's not other things, like they just haven't released some stress or trauma in their system. They get it out safely with people that love them more than anybody in the world. Then it's out of their system. And it's such a beautiful thing to watch. And yeah, so I think you're
Mm-hmm.
such an amazing mother, and just having like that awareness that like you're doing everything okay, and have somebody supporting you just to keep going.
I remember the first time somebody told me that you were doing a good job. um, yeah, that was something that I didn't even know that I needed to hear. um, yeah. So thank you for that. That is a nice reframe for baby crying. Because when baby's crying, we always think something is wrong and we need to fix it right away. But to hear that it could just be that wanting to release some sort of anxiety or stress or something. Like, okay, how about it? Go ahead. Let me know when you're finished. I'll be right here. Now, you've helped many women, achieve significant transformations. Could you share a success story or two that stands out and highlights the impact of your holistic approach on your client's health?
Sure. Yeah. Well, this is why I do what I do, like for women to get long lasting transformational healing results. And I'm so grateful to the women that have shared their stories. So, like, there's so many that you can read about in your own words. And one of the things that uh, really stood out to me as a client I was supporting this past year, as far as a success story. And she had digestive problems going on since she was a teenager. Unfortunately, her mother did die when she was young. And, there's so many reasons why health can get pushed out, but that stayed for her, for so many years through college, through getting married. And she really wanted to start a family as well. And so she, in her words, shared that her digestion like completely healed in the time that we were working together. So through the supportive practices that I guided her with, and she did so much incredible work. I mean, she takes her credit for what she did at the end of the day. And then she got pregnant like right away, like after that. And she definitely had that goal. Like we had a fertility track, from the very beginning. She knew that she wanted to raise a family, but that's in a sense of divine timing. You really just don't know, but that it happened so quickly for her after she restored her health. It was just so inspiring. And I just did a postpartum visit, dropping off some food and checking in like a couple months ago. And she has a baby. She's doing great, right? She wants another baby. So just to see that, um, it's so beautiful.
And I guess it also feels rewarding, doesn't it? And purpose filled. And it sounds really good to hear you talk about her, because I can tell from how you talk about her and her experience, like how passionate you feel about what you do. So that's really, really nice to see.
I love my women. I do. I meet them with my heart. I want them to feel like so seen and cared for, like their extended family.
Nice. Are there any, I guess, goals, future goals for Seasons Harmony, or any, I guess, exciting areas of holistic health and wellness that you are excited about? Anything that you want to share?
Yeah. So everybody that gets to know me knows that I'm always up to something new. I was teasing one of my clients once, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to have to wait to do this until I'm retired. And he was like, I have a feeling like you're never going to slow down. So, even though I'm so fulfilled in what I do, I'm like, okay, is this new educational thing going to bring in another piece? And like I added in the closing of the bones, or La Cerrada postpartum ceremony several years ago. And it's been phenomenally rewarding. As a whole, I feel like any way that I can show up for community service, I'm all in. And
Right.
just getting out there more with visibility and public speaking is something that's been more intentional for me to help more women and to normalize the field of holistic health. So these are very accessible, respected, advanced therapies for all women to choose from, right? Whatever feels best for them, but that they have those choices available. And going to education, I think that's always one of my long-term goals, like for women to start when they're young. With hormone imbalance, absolutely, we can bring about so much restoration
Right.
and progress, no matter what age you are. But for women to start like when they're a teenager, at the onset of puberty, I just find what a gift that we give them, that they have these tools from a young age. They can prevent so much and just live so much healthier lives. So any way I can do education programs with young women and get through and teach others to do the same, that's a vision for me as well.
Oh, nice. Nice to hear that. So Whitney, I guess before we wrap up, um, speak to, the women 35 and over who, I guess, they don't feel good. Um, what, I guess, advice would you give them, or steps that they should take, immediate steps, immediate action that could kind of, I guess, help them feel a little bit better so that they could just go through the day? Any kind of advice, any tips that you could offer them?
Yes, well, you're perimenopause and it's okay. And Ayurveda doesn't have any negative connotation around menopause, although it certainly can be debilitating without the proper support. So just know it doesn't have to be that way. And absolutely keep looking for support and guidance. It's out there, and you don't have to suffer through debilitating symptoms. Like, I don't normalize that at all. And we can learn so much about ourselves, right, when something happens. So getting on herbal medicine every single day. So you could start with like a gentle tea. One of my all-time favorites is Tulsi, also called holy basil, which is a very gentle yet powerful adaptogen that doesn't have caffeine. So you could like replace your afternoon coffee with that, and that really will deeply sustain and support higher energy levels. And just have that in your routine regularly. For hormonal balance, it's a slow, steady healing process. So you have to really give yourself several months of consistent new tools. So don't give up after 2 weeks. You want to go for at least 2-3 full cycles with new interventions. So if you're starting to notice positive shifts, just keep going, because you'll feel better and better as time goes on. I would say also, I think we talk a lot about stress relief, I think, in health and wellness culture. So anything that you're doing that helps, yes, that will make a difference for supporting hormonal balance. And just, taking time for yourself, I think just having some solitary time regularly makes such a difference. And I think that if we kind of structure that in and know that we need that, it's such a great mental break, right? Where we can just reset and have time that's just to fill our cup up, and that's all the other life and family work demands. And instead of trying to be like overgiving all the time for other people, I think that comes really naturally to women. And so, I do a lot of coaching around giving yourself permission to rest, giving yourself permission to take an evening off and do some gentle restorative massage, which helps to increase and regulate estrogen in your body that's produced in your skin, and understand how important that is for your health, and then also to take care of other people as well. There's so much there that I think those little things make all the difference in the world. So just start small, slow and steady, feel really confident about that, and then see where you're at over time and what new support you might bring in after that.
I love that. I love that. And the one thing that stuck out for me is give yourself permission to just take a breath, take a break, take a minute, because I do think, especially women, like we have like got this, and we have the list of things that we check off, and then when by the time we're at the bottom of the list, it's time for bed, right? So then we either go through, I guess what we call like I would say like doom scrolling, or like even sitting through the phone, or maybe scrolling through channels or something like that, but nothing really refueling or I guess meaningful in a way that you feel kind of like, yeah, that was good. I'll do that again tomorrow, even if it's just like relaxing. Um, or, get a nice cup of tea or something like that. So yeah, yeah, I don't know how long is like a good enough time, but at least maybe 10, 15 minutes or so, if you could carve out of your day just to take some time for yourself, I think that'd be really good. I think so. I love that. I'm learning to do that myself. So
It's a practice, right? And I mean, some of my women, I'm like literally just have like a phone alarm, like 2 p.m. every day, just to help remind you. And then over time, it becomes more natural and fluid. And having my women report feeling so much more productive and present for their families by taking, just 10-15 minute break sometime before sleeping. It's so restorative for the adrenal organs, like very literally on a physical level, but then also just the mental break, right? And then you can go back in for the rest of the day and evening, just more recharged and refreshed.
well, thank you. Thank you so much, Whitney, for joining us today. Oh, this was such a great discussion. So we're gonna have to get together and get the funding to do the luxury hotel, postpartum luxury hotel,
And
right? With I could see it now. I could see it with masseuse and chefs and the doulas, um, and the doctors. So that if you have any questions, the pediatricians. So yeah, I'm formulating it in my head. We need to make this happen. We need to.
yeah, you're going to have to come to the US. I'm going to have to go to Barbados. Yeah.
Yeah. We need to make this happen. Ooh, yeah. I guess maybe traveling might be a little stressful, right after. So yeah, we'll have to make sure we have different branches. So yeah, there'll be one in Barbados, and then there'll be one in the US.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Love it.
Well, thank you so much, Whitney. I hope our listeners do gain some valuable, I guess, insights and steps. I mean, even if it's just like you decide you're going to research into different holistic, I guess, remedies or treatments or practitioners, then at least that's a step in the right direction, in my opinion. So thank you again, Whitney.
My sincere pleasure, Mialisa. So looking forward to our time together. It's just fantastic to spend time with you again. And I love what you're doing. Thank you for offering space for these important conversations. And let me know if you need anything at all. Anyways, I can support you.
Thank you for joining us on another Wellness and Growth Journeys podcast. Now, if you're inspired to elevate your health and wellness business, the Wellness Growth Agency is here to guide you. We specialize in tailored digital marketing strategies to enhance your client engagement, grow your practice, and improve overall satisfaction. Let's unlock the potential of your business together. Visit us at wellnessgrowthagency.com to learn more. And don't forget to subscribe to our podcast for more insightful episodes. Until next time, keep thriving and remember, wellness is a journey. Growth is the destination.